Welcome to Afrofuturism and Androids. We were waiting for one person. Please don't let the Afro and Afrofuturism speak to the lack of punctuality of our panelists. That is an unfair stereotype. I can make that joke. I do not recommend the rest of you. My name is Cisco. I'm a local writer, producer, yada, yada, yada. Anyway, I hope you're very excited, because not only is this one of the grooviest topics in all of CONvergence this year, just in all of conventions of all time. No, that's not hyperbolic. I challenge you to find another panel that's even half as groovy as this one's gonna be. Give yourselves a round of applause. The entire audience is clapping. You are not this in. It's gonna be a good panel. So, to kick things up, I'd like the dais to introduce yourselves, give us your name, your pronouns, and for funsies, a little icebreaker question. As soon as I remember my password, there we go. Yes. If you discovered tomorrow that you had secretly been an android this entire time, what's the first thing you would do?
Are you gonna start?
Oh no, I'm good. Also, this is being recorded. There might be kids watching.
All right. I'm Martin Law, and the icebreaker threw me off. I forgot everything before.
Name, pronouns,
Great.
and if you discovered that your entire life had been pre-programmed.
Great. All right. Martin Law, he, him. I think I think it would be one of those moments, I don't know if you have these, where it's like a revelation and now suddenly everything makes sense. Like, oh, that's it. Oh, I get it. So like one of these moments of like scales falling from the eyes, revelation, the truth is revealed to you. I think that could actually really explain a lot. So yeah, I think the first thing I would do would be breathe out. Yeah, now I get it.
I'm Tiana, she, her, and I think that I would try to figure out like what I can do that isn't typical of other humans, and then try to exploit that as much as
Excellent. Well, like I said, like I said, my name is Cisco. I write stuff, stories, and stuff. The first thing I would do if I woke up and found out this like I was Westworlding up here is I would slap so many police officers. So kids watching SCVG, don't go slap cops. I'm just saying, if I found out that they could just reprogram me and set me up again brand new, I would slap the shit out of so many people. There'd be so many hashtags in my name. Like, God damn it, he got shot again.
It's like Tyrone. It'd just be a pile of you.
Oh yeah, but it's so worth it. So worth it. Yes, so the official description of this panel is that androids are often depicted in a future that promises to be equal for all, but that is often not true. What does it mean for artificial beings to be depicted as black? How are androids and allegory intertwined? How does Afrofuturism explore these themes? And then list our names and some of the rules that we're going to ignore. Because again, not only is this the greatest panel of the con, you're also the best panel audience of the con, right? Yeah. Oh yeah. I'm from Chicago, that's a little something we call kissing your ass. And so to kick things off, let's differentiate between Afrofuturism and just sci-fi with colored people in it. Just to get everyone on the same level, so we're starting at the same 0 point.
well, I think of Afrofuturism as being more from not just having people of color or black people in it, but having black people centered in black stories, but also black perspectives. So you can have sci-fi with black people in it, and that's been happening for a really long time, but Afrofuturism is actually from our perspectives. Like, it reminds me of Tim Burton saying, like, I don't have black people in my film because, like, I wouldn't know what to do with them, type of thing.
Yes.
Whereas it's like, we can just have a story, like, we went to the store and forgot our receipts returned, like, just regular stories, and it's still to my mind, or still to this day blows my mind that Tim Burton couldn't see black people as people enough to realize that stories are just stories.
Right. Yeah, I think that I think that is absolutely true, right? That it has to be taking these black characters seriously as characters whose perspective we're in, not people we're observing, not people we're seeing through another character's eyes, but we are seeing on some level through their eyes throughout the story. Another element, I think, that maybe this isn't like a requirement, but a thing that can be really powerful with something that gives you the sense that this is Afrofuturism, not just, sci-fi with some melanin, is that you're seeing stories that are revealing something that is not otherwise seen within the world through this sci-fi lens. So we've got this story that in its fantasy is revealing something real about these black characters that you might not see in other venues, and certainly wouldn't see in just kind of, again, a sci-fi story where you got some folks tacked in there or something.
So is everybody with us? So like Black Panther, Afrofuturistic, Deep Space Nine, Afrofuturistic elements, Homeboys in Outer Space. Do not admit to watching that publicly. Now, before we actually officially started the panel, the dais was discussing very heatedly, we had a debate about some of the first Afrofuturistic androids in pop culture. I made the mistake of citing the famous late 80s, early 90s prestige television series Family Matters and the Purple as the first black robot. But my distinguished panelists had other ideas.
Well, I was just saying when I realized I was going to be on this panel, I was thinking of the first black android in my history that I could think of, and I thought of the Tin Man from The Wiz, who is very much an android and very much black.
Yes. First, if you don't remember Urkelbot, some people I think are on their phones right now. It's got suspenders. It's wild. I put out that probably the first, and so this is going to get us to a distinction between Afrofuturism and Black Folks and sci-fi, was probably Rosie from the Jetsons. Because they did not have a white maid. The Jetsons did not have a white maid. Rosie from the Jetsons was absolutely a black android. And once again, this is not Afrofuturism. We're not seeing anything from Rosie's perspective. We are putting her in,
Yes, that wasn't even like Anglo-futurism. The Jetsons was so white, that was like Abercrombie Fitch show. So Lex?
Well, I was thinking, it's a bit of an uncomfortable note to jump off on, but you already mentioned Rosie, but speaking of chattel slavery and droids, Star Wars.
Oh.
And how weirdly the fandom reacts whenever the canon acknowledges the fact.
Yeah.
Not familiar. What is this Star Wars you speak of?
That's too far away. The Cisco
But it's an excellent point because in Solo, which is a fantastic Firefly movie if you haven't seen it, they do spend a lot of time discussing these sentient mechanical beings and the parallels between their story and some flesh and blood people in the real world were more easily accepted by the fanboys than just acknowledging the fact that, hey, Rosie is Asian and she kissed the black and even the black stormtrooper, and it's John Boyega. Who doesn't want to kiss John Boyega?
He's really pretty.
But to that point, thank you for the perfect segue. Why do you think that science fiction in general, and Afrofuturism to an extent to keep us on topic, but sci-fi in general, why do you think they keep returning to androids when they're trying to talk about race, identity, or humanity? Why is it so hard to just simply say, we landed on this planet, and their SPF was much lower than the astronauts, and they had amazing cuisine. I will preface this, I can make that joke. I don't really recommend you guys say that to your boss. But yes, why do you think it's easier for not only writers and creators, but also in many cases the audiences to accept, completely fictional beings in allegorical situations that we actually have and continue to experience?
I mean, honestly, the only thing I can think of would be white supremacy. That's always bothered me. I've never really understood why, like, don't be mad, but like Avatar was very, like, I only saw the first one, and when I saw it, I was like, are you kidding me? Like, you know what I mean? Like, it was just like, this is real life, this is what's currently happening on planet Earth with human beings. Like, why is this a fantasy with blue people? And so I've never really understood, honestly. I mean, if someone can tell me another reason, I would love to know. But all that I can think of is white supremacy, where it's like we just can't accept colonialism. I'm not sure. I don't understand it.
Yeah. And thinking, excuse me, through androids in particular in that setting, right? That there's a level on which you can suspect that is sort of the end point of the imagination that white supremacy gives us about other folks, is that they're not just different, they're not just blue, they're not super tall, they eat some funny food, right? We're starting to see, but they are not even human in a way that we would want to qualify. Or if they are human, we're gonna have, if we do want to accept them as members of our society, it's gonna require this long conversation, this long debate, a multi-episode arc about what is it really to be sentient though? Do these androids really feel something? And like, you can always tell that this conversation is like, it's a conversation they don't want to have about some other category of, again, folks we don't believe feel pain, have the capacity to think and feel the same way we do. So it's always an uncomfortable allegory for me. Since I saw it, I was like, oh right, I guess, yeah, that's what you're doing. All right.
Well, even in more contemporary series like Westworld, the HBO adaptation, not the 1970s movie, but both are fantastic for very, very different reasons. And D-Wayne Newton plays, I'm about to spoil an old series. Maeve is an android.
I'm only on episode 2. I'm watching it very slowly.
And Bernard, played by the incomparable Jeffrey Wright, is also, again, spoilers, just pretending I didn't say that. Jeffrey Wright is also an android, but there's nothing about them that would be distinctly black or African American or even African immigrant. It's just like they could have dropped, and it was a Shondaland glaze on the Michael Crichton biscuit. That is a lot. I'm using that all the time. But does that count? Like, is it simply enough to be not quite tokenized, but just simply present? Is that enough to move the needle in the right direction? And if not, what are the bare minimum steps? Because we know that's what it takes.
Right.
We gotta get that bare minimum. Like Keith David kicking the shit out of Roddy Piper and They Live, again. It's okay. Or Yaphet Kotto as Parker in Aliens. Who is the hero of Aliens. I want to give Ripley her props, but she would have been splattered all across the Nostromo if it wasn't for Parker and his blue headband. Space. It gets sweaty on those spaceships, apparently.
Before we get to that, that is a great question, but one of the things that you mentioned in Yaphet Kotto in Alien brought to mind also is that, so there is the level of that bare minimum being this thing that can bring you in, and whether the text itself is attempting to make Yaphet Kotto the hero of the story, there's the possibility for some of us to see it that way and get into his head. And even again, even if the writers of the story didn't give us enough background, didn't give him a fully fleshed out character, I find it very frequently I will enter a story like that, and build that character for them, right? And again, I assume that I wasn't alone in that, but when you see that singular black character, even if they were underserved by the writer, the capacity to go, I actually know this person. I can build that backstory. And so, once again, that is not what we're shooting for with Afrofuturism, I think. But it does also reveal something about, but probably more about a desire to have those authentic stories told. And again, the Yaphet Kotto thing just brought that. I remember, yes, he was the main character, and I know that.
And he was a hero.
Yes,
Because
yes,
he came
yes.
home, Split went crazy.
Yes.
He's all, and Ripley badass, 100%.
Absolutely.
Amazing.
Absolutely.
And she started freaking out. She's like, what's happening? What is going on? Yaphet Kotto showed up. He's like, what the fuck? And he started yes.
Taken care of.
By the way, correct reaction if you see a xenomorph or an android trying to attack one of your friends, don't assess the situation. It's not the time to ask all those prodding questions. You can save those for later.
Is it enough? No, it's not enough, but it is something. For me, like you said, seeing these black characters, like, you become obsessed. Like, I think of the Vampire Chronicles. I was very, very obsessed with the Vampire Chronicles growing up. Read all those books. There was a black vampire in the third book who was barely in the book, Davis. Exactly, no one knows who that is. But I became very, very obsessed with Davis because it was a black vampire in the series, and anytime I would meet any other Vampire Chronicle person that was white and I would say, oh, I love Davis, they would be like, no, who's Davis again? So it's not enough, but it is something, it's more than people would think it is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yep.
representation matters, like, everyone says that, but it's very, very true.
At the same time, I think it's like, it's also sort of an indictment of these literatures where it's like, this crumb feels like a feast, or we'll
Yes.
make a feast out of this crumb. We'll stone soup our way to an actual meal. And so yeah, absolutely, it is true, and it's sort of an indictment of what you come to expect is this vampire who nobody remembers is so much. It's not sufficient, but it's still so much.
Absolutely, and especially I brought up literature and depictions because they're just seeing this rejection even when all the clues are pointing to it. So we know now that Roald Dahl had intended Charlie of Charlie and the Chocolate Factory to be a little black boy. But then the publishers made him change it, but he left all the other elements in there. Again, what I'm about to say, please don't repeat it one day. But you've got 3 generations living in one household, a kid who's scraping together enough money, hasn't eaten in days, and he's like, I'm gonna get candy. It's like, dude, he's landing on it. It's like, I know that kid. I took my 1 quarter to get a bag of Now Laters. I've been there. I know what's up. The same thing with Jay Gatsby, which I know is mildly controversial and really annoying contentious circles. But Jay Gatsby was black. He threw big ass parties because his girl, who was married to another dude, just happened to be in the neighborhood. That is some black shit. It's like, what? Daisy's here? I don't care about Daisy. Hey, call everybody. We're about to have a party. But fun game for the audience. And this I think might help if there's creators out there, or if you talk to your other favorite creators and people who make stuff. Any fandom, any story becomes 1,000% improved if you change the lead protagonists to African American. I know you guys are like, wait, I need a suggestion. Any story? Surely you jest. I do not jest. There's a film called American History X, starring Edward Norton. Tell me, that movie would not have improved 1,000% if it starred Sir Denzel Washington.
You're cheating with Denzel Washington, though.
It's slightly more, because we have seen they cast based on merit and talent.
Yeah.
So Morgan Freeman in Shawshank Redemption, one of the best Stephen King stories of all time, which turns one of the best Stephen King adaptations of all time.
Yeah.
Red is red because he's Irish, and they didn't even change that line, and it still works in the adaptation.
Yeah. The other thing about that too is one of the things that's always for years and years, I would play this game of what if they recast the main character? But the other thing that does, and this is goes back to the point I was making before about building out that world for the character. Because with your main character, you don't just get the main character. You get the main characters eventually, you know, their spouse, their parents, their kids, their uncles. You get this whole pantheon. So it's never just one, right? I mean, that's how you can tell you have a tokenized character, it is only one. But if this is a real character, they got family. And so for years and years and years, I would always say, it would be great if this main character was black, because then Joe Morton could be their dad. And that's all I always want Joe Morton to show up and be their dad. That's all I want ever. I want Joe Morton as the dad. And so there's a downstream effect of, you know, fine, Ed Norton is black, Joe Morton can show up as his dad. That's all that. He's getting a little old now, so, you know, maybe grandfather, fine, whatever.
I mean, can you imagine the scene? You can still keep Avery Brooks as the principal, talking to Denzel Washington. It's like, I've seen the things that your brother's been getting into. I don't think you should be a skinhead. This is not gonna that's got Oscar written all over Oh, there's, I mean, TV shows?
Yeah.
No, but, I mean, because I still maintain that Roseanne was just Sanford and Son with, like, not as good writing. Yeah, I said it. Not Roseanne fans here, bring it.
How dare you besmirch the name of Roseanne Barr, upstanding citizen, right there.
I mean, what gets really interesting too is when they're clearly trying to tell a story that may not be coming from like an anglicized background, not even necessarily like a black story or like an African or Afrofuturism, but it's not anglicized. They try and like shoehorn things in. Like The Matrix, if you haven't seen it, it's like the 13th floor, but like a bigger budget and not as interesting. But you all seen Passion of the Christ? It's cyberpunk Passion of the Christ. I'm watching the gears turn.
That's a wild sentence. I love roller coasters.
You've got, because like the Passion of the Christ is based on this story from Christian mythology. It's kind of a big deal, but there's this nice guy from Palestine. He's like, yo, you guys should like be nice to each other. They're like, fuck you, and put him on like, but then like 3 years later, he's like, aha, fuck you. And then people have been murdering each other for 2,000 years over whether or not the story happened or not. And The Matrix is about this awkward guy who's not really from Palestine. But like he finds out that he's chosen, then he dies, comes back in like 3 acts, and he's the chosen one. But it's still a very black story.
Well, Neo was originally supposed to be black.
Yes, but luckily the casting choice they had could not do that role because holy shit, the producers originally wanted true story, Will fucking Smith.
Yeah.
You just do Wild Wild West.
Yes.
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 Thank the pop culture
Not a bad
gods who
movie.
did. True, not a good movie.
You give it exactly as much as it deserves. It's not the worst.
You could see all the characters, all their dialogue was audible.
Mostly in focus.
I like the dance number at
Smith
the
is a
end.
hacker.
But with like The Matrix, that is a story, like the resurrection story, originated in areas of the planet that were not traditionally home to like what we call white people.
Right.
That's right, every story that's a Jesus allegory is a non-white story. That includes RoboCop. There's more Roseanne fans at CONvergence than RoboCop.
Is that why Spider made that comment in the remake, Finally You're the Right Color?
Yes, so the RoboCop remake is to the original RoboCop what like Friends is to Living Single.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, real, I know. I'm besmirching the holy Friends. Fuck that show. That show sucked and you know it.
Thank you.
That damn haircut was not worth it. Yes. But even things like Dancing with Wolves, a lot of anything with the trickster gods, and so what we find often is they try and lean to, well, this is Norse mythology, right? This is like Druidic, and it's like you guys seem to have this encyclopedic knowledge, this vast library of every culture except for the ones that come from a little bit south of the equator. But why? Or rather, what do you think the worst case scenario is if we started actually openly embracing more Afrofuturistic androids and the stories and characters that would go along with it? Like, what are the worst cases? Let's help some of the racists out. I see some red caps out there. Not really, but the red cap isn't just a piece of shitty plastic from China. It's here. Yeah.
Well, I think if you're a person of color, you notice the white centrism that happens in everything in our culture, and how it's like if there's a person of color, a black person added to something, you're inevitably gonna get people that are angry about that because they believe they should be centered at all times, under all circumstances. So I think that has a lot to do with why it's like, oh, we don't know anything about like African superheroes or South American superheroes or Asian superheroes or Native American like all of these cultures, like white people weren't the only ones telling stories. White people weren't the only ones telling sci-fi, fantasy, all of these things. But those are the only stories that get told, that are allowed to get told. And then if people try to diversify, like, oh, let's make the Little Mermaid black, then people get angry about it. And it's like, tell your own stories, and it's like, well, we would love to, but we're not really allowed to. I feel like with streaming, our stories are being allowed to be told a lot more, and what I'm finding is that no one seems to be bothered by it. I shouldn't say no one. The majority of people are not bothered by it. White people aren't going, oh, I'm not centered in this, I'm not gonna watch it. They're watching it, they're loving it. You know what I'm saying? Like, so the lies that we've been told all these years, like, oh, well, nobody wants to see a black superhero. Lies.
Yeah.
White people wanna see it, black people wanna see it, Asian people wanna see it. Like, and I think it's just like the powers that be trying to keep whiteness the center, but also so that you can do things like lie and say, oh, the Greeks invented theater. Nobody was, no one was, you know, like acting until the Greeks did it. You know what I mean? And I think that is like the major reason, so that they can like watch history, you know, because again, like I said, like, people of color or white people have always enjoyed people of color stories when they're available for them to watch. Like Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, that was everyone's jam. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I don't know, I feel like it's very done on purpose to keep whiteness centralized with just in every aspect of life, like history, entertainment, everything, because again, like, look at Netflix, how many, like, I have white friends that all they watch are Korean things on it, like, that's it. They watch just Korean dramas, you know what I mean? So, like, you can't tell me that white people don't want to watch these things, you know what I mean? So, obviously, someone is trying to keep this the way that it is, because it's not that the people don't want to watch it.
You know, and a fun fact about that too is that originally Keanu Reeves was cast as a Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. So, to take T. Aaron's question seriously, what is the worst that could happen? And like, once again, the worst thing that could happen is actually some of the things we were talking about at the beginning. Things that are just exploitative, that are about, you know, that they're telling black stories, but they aren't. It's someone who isn't informed, who isn't doing a good job. And again, one of the things that I'm obsessed with is this notion that on some level, the android is this fantasy of this enslaved person. This is a body that doesn't need to be cared for, that requires no pay, doesn't need time off, will follow every command until it doesn't, right? That's always part of the story, right? But again, that's part of that fear of the enslaved person rising up. That's, you know, there's an argument to be made. No, I'll make the assertion. You know, right? What if these fears, these stories, these horror stories about slave uprisings, you know, maybe those are the first, black androids, right, out there. You know, all right, again, I can't back that up yet, but look forward to a, academic journal article about that coming in 2032. And so on. But really, I think that's, you're taking your question seriously, that's the worst that can happen, is that you end up really, reifying this notion that we could hope one day to return to a time when we have a labor force who is entirely under our control, under our command, infinitely, it requires no pay, infinitely flexible and fungible, right? This is the dream of capital, is to return to the time of enslavement. And androids very well could be that. And so the worst that can happen is that we end up celebrating this, the worst possible timeline, right? And so, again, now this is not to say, therefore, we shouldn't have it, but I think that is kind of the other side of representation is, okay, but what kind of representation? Like, what have we done? And it's possible that even a well-intentioned, person of color could tell that story by accident, by not being properly critical of what's at the core of the dream of the robotic automata, as a workforce or something like that.
Absolutely, and both of you bring up fantastic points, like Tiziana, when you're talking about like celebrating like black culture and whiteness, and like being afraid to use it. I mean, like the first wiggers, I came of age in the 90s, but the first wiggers popped up in the United States in the mid-1800s, because they used to do minstrel shows.
Oh, right, okay. Yeah.
They were professionally pretending, and then they carried it over to the radio era with Amos and Andy, and it's like, wow, you guys want to be black so hard. And then to Southern, there's another, my grandma's from the South, so is my mom. There's also the expression that the only thing someone in a shitty situation hates more than their situation is someone getting out of a shitty situation. And it feels like the worst that can happen, to your point, Martin, is that we start getting groovy. Everyone starts realizing, like, not too long ago, they're like, we can't have race mixing in music. And then a lot of artists were like, well, I won't play this venue unless you allow, like, desegregated audiences. And then found out, like, oh man, white girls like dancing with black dudes.
And white dudes like pretending to be black dudes. I mean,
Yep.
This is the slightly simplified like criticism of like 1950s, 1960s hip culture, when it's just a bunch of white guys like copying stuff from the black jazz cats,
ripping off,
appropriating, whatever it was. Sometimes lovingly, but always just I want to be you, and consequently I want to get more credit for it, and there's an argument to me that's what the beats were, like all of this stuff. So again, once you getting to the worst case scenario is, it gets cool. Is that the worst that could happen? Sometimes getting cool actually can have that other what am I trying to say? Double edged. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, but we want everybody to be cool. Like when we talk about AI and how it's going to start creating, which I guess is mildly hot take, but maybe not for convergence audiences. AI is not art. It's just kind of like a really complicated fax machine. And you need a robot that can play this classical piece. Like, of course it fucking can.
Right.
It's an equation. You're
Right.
reading the notes, equating the notes, the sound. They can duplicate that.
Yep.
Show me a robot that can play like fucking like Coltrane or like B.B. King and improvise. Well.
Yeah.
Right. No, they can't pull that shit off. Yes, you, lady in the front with the hashtag.
Thank you. Since you brought up music, and it's not really Afrofuturistic related, but like everybody loved Mozart, but there is a theory that Mozart was black, and they whitewashed him because based on like letters, and like everybody wanted to be Mozart, like shocking, not shocking, right? So I don't know. Whenever I think of like music, I always think of that. Like, it's super.
Man, Mozart is black is wild because he was born in a very.
But if you read letters based on people who have written about him, who saw him, every time they describe him, it is African. It's never looked at. They describe him like with coarse curly hair and like features. Look it up. It's so interesting. I go down rabbit holes all the time. But I'm like, that wouldn't surprise me. Like,
not at all.
Because, like, the biggest composer, like, they couldn't in history say it was a black person,
Right.
ever.
Yeah, just, I mean, that reminds me of how they often do that with women as well, especially when it comes to like science and things, where they say that a husband did the research,
Yeah.
but it was actually the wife,
woman,
or,
yeah.
they do that a lot. And that's another thing, speaking of music, when I was thinking of Afrofuturism, I was thinking of 70s funk and how because
Absolutely.
being a young black nerd in the 90s, I was like, wait a minute, we're nerds? Like when I saw like, you know what I mean? Like we have a history of nerddom, this is really, really cool. So 70s funk is very, very Afrofuturistic. There was a lot of that going on, I would say, like in the late 90s, early aughts with the Neptunes and even like Busta Rhymes and so I was thinking about Afrofuturism and music a lot, but I think like a lot of our sci-fi ideas in general, when I say our, I just mean humanity, America, is from 70s funk. Like the outfits, the lyrics. Then I was also thinking about Computer Love. Isn't that, I believe it's by Zapp. And that song basically talks about like sexting and like cyber sex, like before that was a thing. Like that's 100% what that song is about. Like it's not even like subtle, it's literally about that.
Well, to bring it also in with the Android, I hadn't thought about that before, but it seems so obvious now that you say it. I love that. Thinking about some of the funk and early hip hop and stuff, where in addition to having this bizarre, futuristic, wild imaginary of an Afrofuture, there's also the heavy use of vocoder and voice manipulation that is bringing this kind of, again, this Android sensibility to it as well. And making me think, once again, about this, why is it more possible to imagine this as a non-human than to imagine it just as a melanated human future? Why is it more believable that Africa Bombata is a robot, that Egyptian lover is a robot, than I'm thinking about electro-funk stuff from the 80s, then that they were, just these like wild visionaries talking about like, pyramids on Mars, right? And things like that, which now that I think that's a Doctor Who episode, isn't it? Pyramids on Mars. I think it was. Was that a reference to African Bombata? I wonder. It wasn't.
I mean, Gallifreyans are definitely African American. I mean, yeah, Two Hots. They're kind of nice, but they kill a lot of people, and everyone's okay with it. Sorry, again, coming of age in the 90s, there was a weird phenomenon, this terrible sub-genre music called gangster rap. Which it was very catchy, but if you stop for a second, you're like, wow, these guys are like openly confessing like serious felonies to a beat, and everyone's like, I mean, not serious felonies, very, very specific felonies. It's usually just like, I'm selling a lot of dope, I'm like enslaving women for sex slavery, or I'm killing so many folks. It's never like, and then I commit tax fraud. It's always, not a lot of embezzlement around. Yes. It's coming. Yeah. We're gonna drop the hottest fire. We are down to our last few minutes. Love to open it up to the audience for questions, comments, especially if you got comments, bring it. Yes, yellow.
You've been talking a lot about a lot of these things in relation, or that are like, especially from like the 90s and the 80s and early 2000s. Is there something that's like, I mean, a large portion of these have been from there. Is there something inherent to those that's like, drawing us to those comparisons, or as opposed to any other say more recent decade, or what's kind of your reflections on that?
I think we are largely just kind of talking about the history of it, and I think it brings us there. But just to say, like, who do we have to thank, I guess, for things? But if we were to get more modern, I would think of people like Janelle Monáe. You know, she's very into the Android. What is her Android? Merriweather.
Android. Yeah.
Merriweather. Yeah, I'm trying to think what her. She has an Android, you know, like representation that has a name, and I believe it's Merriweather. But so there are more modern representations when it comes to that. But I do also agree that I think for a lot of Black people there is this idea of, do I want like a servant slave type of thing? And so I think maybe when we are telling futuristic stories, a lot of times we are leaving those aspects out of it because that's not really, I guess, culturally what we're looking for. Like, I guess culturally we're more looking for like equality, representation, and things like that. And often when there is Afrofuturism, it is very reflective of the past and the present. Like, a lot of Afrofuturism stories are just like what's happening right now, but with like cooler tech. And like, I think of like The Kitchen on Netflix, where it's very much like they're raiding people's homes and they're kidnapping people and they're pulling families apart. And it's Afrofuturism, but it's exactly like now, but with cooler tech.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'll say just briefly, the reason I'm doing this is because I'm very, very old. I just don't know new stuff. It's not entirely true, but it's also not untrue.
Well, also the new stuff, there's so much of it. So we're in this like kind of like embarrassment of riches. Like we used to have this terrible network called WB, and then UPN that just gave us representation or appearances. We were there.
Like a centralized place we can all reference.
But quietly, HBO, in all seriousness, has like just been picking up and like greenlighting so many projects from non-white creators and like blended. So not just about race, but also like LGBTQIA creators, non-binary creators. It's been amazing. Two very, very amazing series in recent years. One is called Lovecraft Country, which is an adaptation of a novel. Yeah, I can give you now for the Roseanne. And the other is Watchmen. Be careful on HBO Max because there is Watchmen, the Zack Snyder attempt at adapting it up, but it's Watchmen the series, and they do race swapping with Dr. Manhattan's character, but it adds so much weight to it. I mean, again, no spoilers, it opens with a depiction of the Tulsa, Oklahoma massacre. So it's saying like, yo, this isn't black, this is black as fuck. But it's for everyone. Yes. Other yellow.
You were talking about black superheroes a little bit. Have you seen I'm a Virgo by Blue Island?
Yes. What's it on?
Amazon Prime, pretty sure.
Okay.
Perfect.
Everybody needs more communist propaganda in their life.
Yeah.
So, I love Boosters. I haven't seen, but that's this movie in theaters recently.
Yep. And then there's from the 90s, my sister and I were obsessed with Meteor Man and Blink Man. And I met Robert Townsend and cried like a baby. I did not expect to cry, but Meteor Man was everything to me when I was a kid. So.
And if you haven't seen Meteor Man, this is a tangent, but we're gonna get this out there. Go watch it, because when it came out in 1993,
something like that, yeah.
It was trashed by critics because they had a blend of superhero action and comedy, and it didn't seem to take itself too seriously in either direction, which if you recognize that formula, that's what Marvel has used to make $1 billion.
They were trying to save us.
Also, trigger warning, William Cosby has a semi-prominent role in it.
William.
Oh yeah. No, he lost Bill years ago.
Also, good not mentioning his superhero movie.
I mean,
we don't need to give it any airtime. If you Google it on your own, that's fine. But
can you imagine if the audience hears us say the name and then like at least half of them like, well, it can't be that.
Honestly, the greatest punishment he could have is more people watching Leonard Part 6. The more people who watch Leonard Part 6, the more his star descends.
That movie makes Pluto Nash look like Citizen fucking Kane.
Imagine if that's his legacy.
Yes.
If Bill Cosby's legacy just becomes Leonard Part 6 and nothing else. We could poison an AI, you know.
All come together.
Whenever you type in his name, it just feeds you a bunch of Leonard Part 6 quotes.
William Cosby of Leonard Part 6. Lewis Red Circle.
Oh, yeah. It's kind of more of a comment than a question. I've been like trying to formulate it into one. But I think it's like interesting when I'm thinking about like depictions of androids and like the future and stuff like that, that like there's a lot of Orientalism in a lot of like things with robots and stuff like that. So it's interesting that you don't see, like, Wakanda is the only thing I can think of when we're like thinking of like a black society that is futuristic. But you see a lot of that with Asian people. And I just think it's interesting, like, the difference in those kinds of things. Because you earlier were talking about how the lack of, representation is white supremacy, which it is, but it's interesting the way that intersects differently with different identities.
And one of the things that makes me think of immediately is even what we imagine as futuristic, right? So what we think of as futuristic is a particular trajectory of technology. And this is a particular trajectory of technology that throughout the 20th century has been associated with particular Asian, cultures. Whether throughout the late 20th century, it was absolutely always Japan, right? And so we've got this, but in order to undo that, what we need is a different notion of what high technology means, or what future technology means. And you do get some of that in things like Black Panther. It doesn't look like the hyper-futuristic Tokyo, set that was in absolutely every cyberpunk novel, book, movie, everything, right? It is stylized such that it seems to fit on the African continent in a particular way, without then making it this kind of, weird, noble, savage, primitive, thing that they could have done. I would have been surprised if they did. So I think that's a really interesting point, and I very much think that it is tied again to what our imagination of future technology is, and how we have tied that to something that is that goes into our late 20th century terror that the Asians are coming and they're going to overtake us in our society, right?
Well, would you tie that into an extension of like the fetishism?
Yes.
Because there's like in pop culturally, like James Bond films and other spy films, especially like the 60s and 70s, it was always like the docile but sexy Asian, or like the mystical Oriental, blah blah blah. And then we're like, okay, well, let's course correct and have these same uninspired, uncreative white men are now like, oh shit, they're using things like chopsticks. Yes, when Rick Deckard is hungry, he gets noodles. It's sort of like this weird evolution. But I mean, like, and if you don't mind me asking, I'm gonna call you out because, you spoke up, so that's the punishment. There was a movie that was released not too long ago, starring famous Asian American actress Scarlett Johansson. Adapting the anime and manga Ghost in the Shell, and the excuse that they gave was that she wasn't a white actress playing a role that was very, very clearly and deliberately not a... Anyway, they said because she was playing an Asian character trapped inside a white woman's white-presenting body, that was okay. And then you fast forward to just last year, the film Slanted, which was like the substance, but sort of race, class based. Like, what's wrong? If you could you got 2 minutes, just tell us, could you solve this?
It is an interesting thing because I think that's like something that's kind of the uncomfortable part of, this fetishization is that there's this deep interest in Asian culture. They don't want to see Asian people in those roles.
Yes.
And I mean, it's interesting you bring up Ghost in the Shell. I was in high school when it came out, and I've had white friends come up to me and ask me if it was okay. And try to explain to me that it is fine. And then all I had to say was like, well, her name's Motoko Kusanagi. But it is one of those things that I wonder for our lack of interest in making more sci-fi African worlds, if it is that kind of thing, that there's more of this acceptable fetishization or it's seen as more cool or whatever. So it is like, I don't know. Just,
We have time for one more, but Tiana, I wanted to make sure we got you coming in.
Oh, no.
No? Sure.
I feel like we touched on it.
You about to say something really problematic. Sorry. We can't have Afrofuturism with Asians because they have all the corner stores. Oh, shit. Yeah, no, that was highly inappropriate. Sorry. So you start with the green cat butthole.
I was wondering, I'm a big fan of Red Dwarf. What's your take? I mean, I just found the captain is hilarious. You know, it's kind of like just a silly kind of leader brand. I really enjoyed that. And also, do you experience any difference between across the pond, the culture, media, and you see things that might take a different take on things compared to what's going on over here?
Are you familiar with Red Dwarf? Is everyone familiar with Red Dwarf? It's a BBC comedy series with Rimmer and the Cat and Holly. Yeah, okay. And if you're not familiar with it, that's one you should watch after you watch Wonder Part 6.
That's your reading list. Go home.
But it's interesting hearing, like seeing the UK perspectives when you take a show like Doctor Who, which is just like is 3 years older than Star Trek, and Star Trek gets all the accolades for being so progressive, and really Gene Roddenberry was just a money-grubbing rapist piece of shit. That's a whole other panel. Yes. But Doctor Who had the first main black character in a fictional genre television show, which sounds like a lot of disclaimers, but that's since 1963, when having just colored people on television was wild. They also tended to treat them with a little bit more autonomy. It wasn't quite Bridgerton, but it was like Benson. It was a different TV show. They're like, all right, we don't really like you, but since you're here, yeah. Sorry, Benson's a TV show that is not great, but it's not bad.
It's such a song.
Not
I mean, for a spinoff of Soap, it was, yes.
It has been 4 years at this point. It probably isn't great.
But it's sort of like, it's more of a tolerance as opposed to acceptance, or at least that's the vibe as an American, that it feels like watching British and other European shows with black presenting characters.
I mean, I don't know Red Dwarf, but even bringing it back to music, I just think of how black people making black music in America, they were not given the credit, they were not on TV as much, but if you want to watch all of these old blues and rock and roll artists, you can find them, these old blues and rock and roll African American artists